Good morning. Welcome to the Howler Mouse channel. I'm Howler Mouse, and it's a Sunday morning. We are live on April 13th, 2025, approximately 9:25 a.m. for you people in the future, Eastern Standard Time. And right off the bat, we have to say good morning to John, man. So everybody, please subscribe like John is subscribed. Hit that bell like John hits that bell so you know when I do these. I finally am able to come on here and throw a little few spontaneous streams out during the week and things. I did one last week on a Tuesday, I believe, and the people who popped in there were they had this moment where they all commented and let me know. They were like, "What day is it? Is it Sunday?" Good morning. Oh yeah. And thumb it up. Thumb up. Go ahead and just thumb this up. We're going to talk about superhero movies that are coming out. And Snow White a little bit. Victor Shade. Good morning, Victor. All right, great to see you. All right. So, guys, one of the things we're going to be talking about, just to kind of set this up a little bit, because I take it very serious. A lot of times I'm like, do these things really matter? They're just movies. These are just comics. This is just pop culture. Yes, they matter, right? They do matter at the end of the day because these are the things that allow us to escape from the harsh realities that most of us, if not all of us, deal with every day at some point in time. And these are also the things that become a part of you, right? A part of you as you go through life. Are they heavy? Is this the things you think of while you're driving? Is this what you daydream about? Are these the things we reminisce about? Are these the things that makes us feel like a kid? All right, Prime One Collector, great to see you, right? But make sure you follow me on Instagram because if you're following me on Instagram, you would have seen that I posted a screenshot that was probably going to give you a clue of what we were going to talk about here, right? And so for anybody, and I mean anybody that has been living under a rock, we should know about you should know about the Snow White incident that we'll call it, Rachel Zegler and stuff, everything, right? And that is, this is going to pertain to a few things. This is going to pertain to Fantastic Four, because the screenshot I showed gave me the strike three for why I am not going to go see the Fantastic Four movie, despite the fact that I did a review a few weeks ago of the trailer that finally came out. I've had a weird feeling about this movie at any point in time that is ever mentioned, all the way back to the first time I heard about it. The first strike was, well, you heard there was a female Silver Surfer going on. Then all sorts of speculators went out and got obscure as they could to go ahead and try to find this comic with the first, uh, female Silver Surfer. So normally, I always go back in time and talk about when Michael Keaton was cast as Batman, and I was one of the people that was like Mr. Mom, Johnny Dangerously, was cast as, and I won't berate. I will not bring up the word Beetlejuice because he was the bomb in it. But anyway, and I was proven wrong for being one of those people that was casting. I was 16 years old, and just a kid. And then as we go forward in time and we get around to the announcement of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's by James Gunn, there's the videos there, the documentations there that people were predicting that would be Marvel's first bomb of a movie. And I made the video where I'm like, it's going to be a hit. It doesn't matter if people sitting in their living rooms and driving down the highways, and the muggles who never read comics didn't know anything about these characters. Well, they were it was a hit. I said it's going to be a hit because it has a raccoon with a machine gun. That's what it looked like in the trailer, right? So we go all the way up here and we get to the last, we'll say 10 years, the last 10 years of what's been going on with so-called culture wars and modern audiences that studios are going after, and ideologies, and all the bizarre doubling down that they've done over the years, where they've practically destroyed franchise after franchise after franchise. And in the midst of all that, throughout the Star Wars things, and now in the Doctor Who things, switching genders and the ideologies and things that are just pretty much superficial, we can't really do that anymore because it's expensive to go to the movies. You know what I mean? Like, we do need a little bit of a heads up. Okay, and it's getting to where we can tell things by the PR before the movie, and even the trailers a little bit more and everything now and things, right? And that's what we're going to be talking about here just a little bit, because I'm seeing things. It's almost like life writes a story, and if you step back, you start seeing patterns in a zeitgeist being produced in things, and that's what I'm seeing now. That is what I'm seeing now, because, like I said, I mentioned Snow White. Just kind of we're waiting for more people to show up here, which is what before I get into the meat of the matter here. But if you watch Snow White is the dream. It starred the dream audience. It had an actual. It's almost like the audience that Disney was going for appeared in this actress. All right, the actress is very young. She's in her early 20s. Right, the Snow White fiasco went on for so long, with the movie being delayed for a year, going back 2 or 3 years ago. That I think she was 21 when she started all this. Rachel Zegler and stuff. Right, and she comes out, and the first thing that she did, and the first thing that I saw about Snow White was she's got Gal Gadot behind her. They're being interviewed on some red carpet or something. And she just starts berating Snow White, the actual movie. And she is freaking weird. I can't put my finger on why she was coming off so weird. I know now, because this was a 21-year-old woman at the time, 22, whatever she was. And she was speaking like she was a little eighth grader on the telephone. Like she's sitting there like talking like she's just hip to the world. She knows everything that's going on. She knows nothing, but she thinks she knows it all. And she was like, Snow White was made in 1937, and apparently so. It's cast out the true love story. A lot of people don't realize that the Grimm fairy tales that pulled from Snow White, and guys, I'm always up for being corrected or reminded or refining my thing and stuff like that, right? But the Grimm's brothers did not write all those fairy tales. Mothers did. Right? So they were walking around Germany and things like that, and they were collecting these tales. And Snow White is the story of finding the true love, and it has archetypes that are really deep of getting older and jealousy and things like that. My whole point is, instead of dissecting Snow White in particular, and a lot of those were the stories are much more brutal and stuff, right? That as weird as Rachel Zegler thought it was, and she was actually supposedly scared of the movie when she was a kid, and that Snow White will not be saved by the prince because he's a stalker, weird. She became a walking meme. These were not only stories created by moms and females and women who once wanted true love, which most people still do, whether they admit it or not. This was the foundation character. We can say it was Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie, yes, we know. But when it comes to feature films, Snow White was the one that got Disney off the ground. Okay, you follow me? Now, the zeitgeist that I'm seeing here is that we are coming up in a summer where we're going to have another Superman movie that's going to boot off sort of a DC shared universe headed by James Gunn, where he set up certain rules that they won't go forward with any project without a full script, and so forth and so forth, and so on. Well, for National Periodic / DC Comics, with Action Comics #1, we had Superman. Much like what Snow White was to Disney, Superman is to comics in DC itself. Despite already having like the Crimson Avenger and Slam Brady and a few things like that. Well, no, Slam Brady's first appearance. Slam Brady's first appearance was Action Comics #1, but they already had Crimson Avenger and a few little things dabbling in there. But this was the beginning of the superheroes, right? And technically, besides the Batman 66 and several movie serials and some things going on, the Christopher Reeve Superman movie was really the one that had a serious tone to it and showed audiences that a man could fly. And with that 1978 Superman movie, I still feel like, as great as all the Marvel movies are, as advanced as the technology is, the shared universe as the MCU with everything that anything has ever done, about that first 45 to 50 minutes of that Superman movie by Donner and Christopher Reeve and everyone holds up, and it is still one of the most human things that has been in a superhero movie. Ironic, huh? Aliens, If you really broke it down to where it's a Kryptonian and some humans and stuff, you could go full blown ET with it. Oh, this is cool. This is what I love, right, about the internet. We have Afro SF. Great to see you. Good afternoon, Howler Mouse from the United Kingdom. It is 2:30 in the PM there. That is fantastic. Knights of Old, Superman 2 is my favorite. Absolutely. I love Superman 2, and I hope you've seen the Donner cut where he got to come back and sort of read. You need both movies. Both movies hold up, but the Donner cut, it's also well done. Okay. But where was I? Yeah, the Superman movie, Christopher Reeve's The Most Human Thing, and everything like that. It kind of set up things, right? And then we also have the Fantastic Four movie coming up. So Snow, just to reiterate, you can see how I see things, how the big picture becomes clear. I can critique this, you know what I mean? I can critique this because there's things finally happening. But anyway, Snow White, the foundation for Disney movies going forward. Superman, Action Comics going forward. Superman 78, the first real superhero movie, in my opinion, that was taken serious. And then we had the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four, number one in 1961, changed comics, came in and changed everything, right? So in reality, this should be the greatest time to be a comic book collector, a movie lover, a science fiction lover. Okay. These books, these characters were a generation apart. Superman, Fantastic Four. We should be doing backflips. You know what I mean? Like we're getting the Superman and the Fantastic Four. But the cautionary tale of Snow White with what they did by not, number one, Rachel Zegler, and there's tons of videos on this, and a lot of people, now that we're in the aftermath of Snow White losing millions of dollars and a potential $1 billion and things like that. And we have 2020 hindsight. It's easy to look back, and it should be a cautionary tale. We got the beginning, the middle, and the end. Rachel Zegler is actually the audience. She's 21. She's been raised with all, we'll say the last 10 years. And apparently, considering that she went into show business because it's Hollywood, she, with the internet and the culture wars and the modern audience talk and all the race swapping and all of the gender swapping and stuff, I just found it ironic that Snow White, their big movie, the character that started it all, was taken down by an audience that they built. You know what I mean? That's what happened. She is the epitome of it. She was so bizarre acting, in my opinion, that I was like, this has got to be an act. I thought she was Andy Kaufman, doing Andy Kaufman on us there, right? We're so used to knowing that people are acting when they're on camera with a script on TV or in the movies. Andy Kaufman performed still, even when that wasn't going on, so you never knew what was real and what wasn't. That's how big of a joke it was to me. I was like, what is this, right? So if you go look at my Instagram and look at the screenshot, I don't even have to look up, read the article. I already know what they're going to do and what they're doing because they just had to say it. And this is just 2 weeks after the fiasco. So whoever the PR people are, they are insane. This isn't, the whole idea of doing the same thing over and over and think you're going to get a different outcome. That is insanity. That is the definition of insanity, right? They just call it doubling down. It's the same thing. But anyway, they came out with an article. We've heard about Silver Surfer, the first female Silver Surfer. That was strike one for me. Strike two, and for you, Pete, this is the book that speculators came up in Nth Man that they were saying that's the first female Silver Surfer. The second one was Pedro, being cast as Reed Richards. And now the very, very third strike for me is definitely the third strike for me was the fact that the article said Vanessa Kirby, who plays in the Invisible Woman in this, is going to be playing with gender politics, okay, or something like that. We know what that is. I don't need to read the article and stuff. I've already heard rumors, and I've been informed of even more rumors since posting that on Instagram. I just took a screenshot of the title of it, and I don't need to read it. But they've already talked about Malice. Her evil side will be coming out as a character. John Byrne covered that, 40 years ago or more in Fantastic Four. So cool. They're pulling from the comic, pulling a little John Byrne stuff. They need to make sure they pull from Kirby and things like that. After I posted that, and a little bit before I posted that, I'd already heard things like, and these are probably out there. These are things that I got told with a grain of salt. Ben Grimm may be gay. Well, instead of going with the worrying about him being gay, someone posted, they were just like me. They were like, well, the fact that he doesn't have his New York accent should tell you anything. Then I started being informed that there's something out there in the ether that Johnny Storm will not be Johnny Storm. He is not going to be into cars and girls and stuff because in his era, they're considering him a womanizer. So apparently, if you're a man, you're not allowed to like girls in like fast cars and be confident and stuff, right? Ridiculous stuff. If you really want to go after Johnny Storm, you need to go back to the Byrne stuff where when Thing was on Battle World in Secret Wars. Now, since we're getting a Secret Wars movie, not based on Secret Wars, but based on the 2010 series or something. You got to go after him for breaking the bro code and nailing Alicia while Thing was on another world and then marrying her. And what do? Instead of Marvel going ahead and just having these two talk it out and be men and be adults and whatever, and hold Alicia accountable for her part also in it. They say that she was a Skrull this whole time, and Johnny married a Skrull, unbeknownstly. So isn't he actually the victim? Okay, so that's what I'm saying. We have a great opportunity to have Superman and Fantastic Four here, and I feel like they've already blown it just because of the environment they have built, right? That Disney has built. Disney has lost trust. Rachel Zegler is the perfect not mirror image, but the perfect example of the audience that they helped build, that they wanted, and it destroyed them. It destroyed their movie. And that's the atmosphere the environment we're in now, where these things used to be, let's just wait and see. The trust is gone. They just keep doing this over and over. And now they're sprinkling. It almost feels like they're sort of like, well, they're going to be pissed when they get in there and they don't get the Fantastic Four movie that they're thinking. We might want to start, having a back door here to be like, we told you, because they'll eventually attack the fans. And that's been tried. That's been tried with the Snow White movie, and it didn't happen. It has not happened. All right. Knights of Old says, my 11-year-old daughter loves Superman 2, so it still works. Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah. Prime One Collector Pedro is an industry plant. He is absolutely terrible. Yeah, and the problem is that he's been on Saturday Night Live twice, and I'll check out little clips. I can't sit and watch the show. I can watch, unless it's like Martin Short, somebody I know that's funny. But I've seen 2 skits where he was actually funny, but they didn't hold up the second time around when I was like, look at this, honey, showing my wife. I was like, funnier the first time. Okay, so, and that's where we're at. For us people, I almost wanted to go through the box. I think it's behind me here, covering things. I got a long box here at the bottom and scattered other things. But Fantastic Four was the stepdad that I've talked about for years. We're generational now. The stepdad that I talked about for years, always trying to make some kind of peace with that guy's memory there. He was a huge Doctor Doom fan. He was a Kirby guy, and so the Fantastic Four, the comics weren't just in the house. I still have the Bronze Age stuff in the house. The Silver Age stuff, the Kirby stuff, was stolen off of a U-Haul that I told that story in 2010 when I was moving out of Roanoke. Somebody grabbed 2 boxes off the U-Haul since I was moving myself to get out of there. So they got a gold mine there, but those books were in there. And I've carried them for generations. Dr. Doom was there. And so it was actually part of the, you have a television in your house. You know what I mean? You have VHS tapes. You have a little library and stuff, right? Well, Fantastic Four and comics in general, but Fantastic Four, that Dr. Doom thing, was the only thing I saw that the stepdad, he had a coffee mug. This is before you go out and find things like this, right? But he had a mug that was Dr. Doom's head and I think he had the Secret Wars toy that came out and some odds and ends that he had found, or my sister and brother, his actual kids had found for him and stuff. And it's the only thing I ever seen like that, except for one G.I. Joe figure I got. He looked like Monkey Wrench, if you wonder what the stepdad looked like. His name was, So that's what I'm saying. These things matter. And then we have Superman, a symbol of hope that is seen around the world. You have Mickey Mouse, you have Superman, right? Very recognizable everywhere. So these characters are important, not just to pop culture and to people on a personal level. We're talking about generations, and they need to be responsible for them. These are not properties that you play around with too much, right? Batman has survived some terrible interpretations. Superman, some creative teams and stuff. So now let's talk about Superman a little bit, right? Now, what I've seen, I'm going to go ahead and you guys know that I try to be unbiased a little bit when I talk about things, set back, even if I'm a fan of it and everything like that. But there's some bias here for several reasons. Okay. Number one, I am a Superman fan. That John Byrne Superman stuff is some of my favorite stuff as a kid. Superman Family was there, but most of all, the reprints and some of the coverless comics that I've had and stuff, they came from the 60s Mort Weisinger era, and I absolutely love that era. I love the different colors of kryptonite. I love the Krypton Tales, the Crystal Forest, the Thought Beast, the Phantom Zone villains and stuff, right? And that was one of the things that when Grant Morrison did All-Star Superman, he was going back to that Clark Kent, that kind of thing. The things that people in the real world, the muggles out there who don't read the comics, thanks to the radio plays, the cartoons starting in the 40s, the serials with Kirk Allen and all that stuff like that. They all know that Superman is from the planet Krypton. They know that Jor-El is his father. They know that he was raised in Kansas by Jonathan and Martha. He works at the Daily Planet. And he wears a suit and he's clumsy, wears a suit, has glasses, and then he takes off. He's Superman, and kryptonite can kill him, and he fights Lex Luthor. That's basically what everybody knows about Superman, right? So as James Gunn was writing the script to Superman, his movie, he would post shots where he would have a trade of All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison. So he's pulling from that. We got a teaser trailer where the first thing we see is Krypto. And I'm sort of like, oh no, see, I'm in. And then was it this week, last week? Who knows? But we got a little bit of an extended, I don't know if I want to call it a trailer because there were things that I've already seen, but it's sort of they expanded the teaser trailer. And we got to see a little bit more of Krypto when Superman crashes into the snow, beat up and brutal, can barely breathe. He's wheezing and he whistles and and Krypto comes to see him. Krypto acts like a normal dog. He's all excited to see his master and he's jumping all over him, and you hear bones crack every now and then until he can calm him down and tell him to take him home and stuff, right? So there's a lot of humanity. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of stakes. And then we get to see the Fortress of Solitude rise up out of the ground, the crystals going back to the Donner time, right? And then we see Superman robots. Oh, wow. You know what I mean? So as somebody who loves that era of Superman and seeing the Superman bots and servants and everything like that, I'm just sort of like, oh, I don't know if I'm excited about Superman or if I'm excited about seeing all these other things that are in the movie that I've only seen in comics that I'd never imagined I would see. That was the magic of some of the Marvel movies, guys. I've talked about that. I saw Dum Dum Dugan in the back in a movie. Dum Dum Dugan, guys. Patrick the Leaper, things you just never would have thought. And that's real dangerous. So I'm really glad that he's keeping it Superman centric, because one of the things that took Snow White down is the fact that Rachel Zegler thought everybody was coming to see her. She made herself more important than Snow White. Ironically, if you look at herself, it's sort of like a black swan situation here, right? A doppelganger situation, if you will. Rachel Zegler is the evil godmother, or whatever, and she made Snow White Snow White. You know what I mean? So they're two separate people. And Rachel Zegler did the thing that killed me. I don't know if you guys know what the Winged Victory is, but it's in the Louvre in Paris, right? It's a statue that sort of personifies the perfection of art and sculpture and things. Oh my gosh, probably like there's going to be people if they run across this going to yell at me and want to just wring my neck. But oh God, what was it? Something like 370 years, maybe wait a minute, 190 BC, 170 BC before Christ, things like that. That when it was collected, it was brought into the Louvre in pieces, and all you have is the torso, maybe a piece of the shoulder, the wings. There's no head and things. And amazingly, there's people who lined up, and they still do, to line up to come see this incomplete, beaten, battered statue. That's the personification of possibly the peak of art, what we're capable of and stuff, right? And Rachel Zegler came out with a video where she compared herself to the Louvre, that with all her flaws and breaks and characters and stuff, she turned around and said that people were going to line up to see her, not the Snow White movie, but to see her. And we see how that bombed, right? Could not believe it. So that's what we have to be careful of here that's why the character is important. People know Harrison Ford plays Indiana Jones, but they've already proven they're not just going to show up to a movie because Harrison Ford is playing Indiana Jones. You've got to get Indiana Jones right and make it a story. And from a point of view of being biased, that's what I feel like the Superman movie, despite all the other characters in this universe that is already ongoing with DC and stuff, they've already shown that they're getting the world of Superman right. But my bias is coming from that 60s era of, that I'm like, yes. And I don't know how a real modern audience, actual people, are going to react to that, to that kind of movie. So for me, it's up in the air. Hey, Paolo's here. Good morning, Paolo. How are you? Okay. We have to stop paying attention to movies based on our properties. It was fun for a while, but really should be above validating by the mainstream. Yeah, I'm not even expecting a validation from the mainstream. I just want the movie to be a success, if that makes any sense. So people, and that's what I'm getting. I'm getting ahead of myself, Paolo, here. But yeah, that's we're there. Comics require activating both halves of the brain. It's the only storytelling method that does so. Yeah, Alan Moore woke me up to that as a kid, where he talked about the comic book experience. I've heard that, right? So anyway, these characters are important. Now, will the character of Snow White survive? Hopefully she will. There's all sorts of storybooks still out there, and things like that. But will the Disney version ever recover? We don't know. But they have damaged that property, and that's not good, right? So the Fantastic Four, I feel like if we damage that, and it looks like they're on their way, this could be it. They have had three cartoon series, 1, 2, 3 movies, and that's the third one was horrible. I couldn't even get through it. I tried, and I have it for free, and I can't do it. And then we're going to have this. Okay, so ironically, when you go back, the Fox movies, I thought people were really harsh on them. They got Doctor Doom wrong, but there was a lot of things they got right. The casting of Johnny Storm was fantastic. The casting of Reed, it was about halfway. They should have got someone older. And then the second movie, it was like, as bad as they got Galactus wrong, which is what killed the movie, they got the Silver Surfer right. So, that was a mixed bag. So we've already seen their actual Silver Surfer, and they actually did a few things that improved the character in my eyes. And you guys can help me with my comic book history here, man, because I'm tapping back to when I was a kid. Somewhere I've got the reprints here of his first appearance, but am I wrong in remembering? This is what happens when I start talking about this, guys. Just sort of stick with me here for a minute. We'll get back on track. But when the Fantastic Four were fighting Galactus, there was biblical harbingers that something was happening. We had fire in the sky and rocks in the air and things like that. Kirby was pulling from the Bible of things that were predated, would let you know that Judgment Day was coming, right? And then Silver Surfer kind of appeared. And if I remember correctly, Silver Surfer was not really Norrin Rad. He was not a person. He was actually a creation of Galactus, of his power cosmic. That's why he didn't really have a conscience. That's why when he met Alicia, he started experiencing emotions again. And it seems like as time went by, Stan Lee ended up giving him that origin of with Shella Ball and Norrin Radd. And I think it was Jim Starlin in the early 90s that dealt with why did he not have guilt with presenting all these billions and billions and untold billions of people on in their planets to Galactus as his herald for so long. It's because when he was given the power cosmic, it turned into Silver Surfer. It's because he messed with his soul, and his soul was getting repaired, and he felt all that penance, if you will, right? So I kind of like that. I kind of, in my, if that's not what happened, that's how I read it as a kid, and I always preferred the fact that Silver Surfer was just a being of pure cosmic energy brought to life. You know what I mean? Now let's get back here, right? So what I was saying, right? So what I find ironic is that there's not a lot of rage here against the Fantastic Four movie yet, at least anything that I've seen. But because of James Gunn and some mean, nasty tweets where he used words to hurt, you know, I'm not making light of it, but the reality is that he got on Twitter, tried to do some hot takes, said some stupid things, and they actually got him fired from Marvel, where he got picked up by DC. And then Marvel hired him back, and people were just losing their minds, right? And some people cannot just let it go. So I find it ironic that we have Fantastic Four that has more landmines leading to it, to where it could blow up. That the Superman movie, that's the one they're trying to get it trashed. And anytime that, if you look on X or anything like that, that I've seen, whenever James Gunn posts something about the movies or anything, he gets bombarded with people just being like trying to say horrible things and trying to add, you know, get the flow to turn against Gunn in these movies. And I saw one article that said that test screenings just did not go well, but who knows, right? I don't trust them. I don't trust you shouldn't really trust the movie critics, man. This is not Siskel and Ebert out there anymore. You know what I mean? Nah, it's really a thing that you really need to find out for yourself. I heard Invincible season 2 took a turn and it was horrible, and I was all right with it. And then season 3 was fantastic. So, you know, I'm learning that we got, no matter what side you are in this, you still got to be careful. Okay, John. Hello, Paolo. Comics require acting both halves of the brain. It's the only one storytelling method that does so. Absolutely. What happens is you have the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain, right? One side of the brain responds to reading words. The other side of the brain, the creative side, I'm assuming, and things like it's the right side is the creative side, I believe. You know, it's activated by pictures. So when you read a comic, there's a lot of stuff going on. And I'm about to lead up to something else there. I truly don't know, but I like your interpretation about the surfer origin. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's a freaking 5-year-old Howler Mouse memory he made up in his head, you know. Saying something about touching kids was the straw. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at there. Okay, so that's what I'm getting at. Okay, that was also like, I'm not making light of it, but it's been, oh my God, 16, 17, maybe longer. Seems like he'd made those tweets in like the late 2000s or something. If there's going to be any investigations or any proof of anything bad or anything that would come up, as many people who were going after him, something would have been dug up. You follow what I'm saying? That's why I'm putting it up to stupidity at the time. It's not taken up for a gun. It's like, I haven't been shown the proof. You know what I mean? Like, you know, yeah. So that's what I'm getting at. Stupid, horrible stuff. Years and years have gone by. Nothing's come of it. And there was people going after him, right? So hopefully it's like a lesson learned or something. Now, the fact that we've had 3 Jeepers Creepers movies, and that guy was a convicted diddler, if you will. Again, you know, that was proven. And if you watch Jeepers Creepers, that guy actually has a scene where the Jeeper Creeper is actually in the police station and he takes Justin. And to me, that was him laughing at the judicial system for like, you had me, I'm a monster, and you let me out. That's how I read that, you know. So that's what I'm trying to say. There's worse things out there than a stupid tweet. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying here, that just took a little dark turn there. Didn't know that was on the surface with that. Yeah, we don't like those people. But anyway, these 2 movies are coming out. And I think at this point, between Marvel's Snow White, Eternals, and a few things, I really could care less if Marvel goes on with their movies. There's people out there that are still there. There are people still that grew up with these movies. I talked about this stuff in a live stream before, but I mean, the fact of the matter is that Endgame, ironically, was the end for a lot of people, and they've shown this. They've had one mess after the other. I'm still laughing that they had Kang the Conqueror as their main villain after Thanos, and things events occurred. So I'm trying to say sometimes you just cannot make this stuff up. You cannot write this stuff, right? And the dude who is Kang ended up being proven, I guess. They supposedly had him allegedly had done something to a lady, smacked her around, and you know, Marvel fired him, and they went to replace him with uh, Robert Downey Jr. with as Doom. A bit of a desperation move is how it came off, but we'll see what happens. And that's what I mean. It's been one mess after the other. So we have sort of a fresh start with Superman. Now, in the Superman movie, you see all sorts of characters running out there. Mr. Terrific, Hot Girl, Guy Gardner. They're talking about the Lantern series. We've seen the Creature Commandos. There's going to be the dynamic duo, Batman, the Robins or something. Brave and the Bold, that's what it was and stuff. There's all these plans coming out, and they're sort of taking their time with them, with getting them out. Not a lot of stuff is being rushed thus far. So hopefully when the movie comes out, I'm hoping that all this stuff, all this mess, these things that have taken attention away from the actual characters in movies, right? I know more about the drama than what's gone on in a lot of the Marvel movies starting in phase 4, right? I can tell you about the drama. I just gave you bullet points there, and I could go on and stuff, right? Rachel Zegler thought people were going to show up to see her instead of Snow White. Marvel seems to think in Fantastic Four, people are going to be there to see the gender discussions and what they're going to do with it instead of the Fantastic Four. Superman, we're seeing the world of Superman and introducing these characters and stuff, right? So if there's a balance there, I think it's more important to go to see the character. I mentioned Indiana Jones. Nobody went to see Indiana Jones because they heard just enough about it. They had an actress and they knew it wasn't going to be about Indiana Jones. You know what I mean? And it turned out to be a bit of a character. You know, they went with the plot that they gave Luke Skywalker, Indiana Jones, and there's one other character where if you're a man of action and you're the hero, by the time you get to be older, you're alone and miserable. You know what I mean? That's the Disney plot for your heroes, folks. That's their end game there. Their end game, right? Who else they do that to? There's 3 of them they did that to. But anyway, that's the whole point. So as they lose trust with the audience, I'm really hoping that the muggles out there who don't stay on YouTube and don't check this out and keep up with it, not part of the fandoms and things like that, the sins of Disney with their movies and their characters and the things that they have done, of course, with DC having quite a few of their own bad movies or mediocre movies, if you will, or things they dropped the ball on. I hope they won't come in and attach that by association, guilty by association with the Gunn Superman movie. I want to see if it sucks or is great on its own merits with where it's going. So far, like I said, with my bias, actually, that's why I like having some of this stuff on YouTube and people watching the videos and stuff. It's well documented throughout my entire YouTube hobby here that that's my favorite era of Superman. So I'm just sort of like, when I saw the Superman robot, Crypto, first of all, was a 1-2 punch, and then to see the Superman robots, I'm like, oh my God, Oh, what we got here? Imagine if we had a Superman appearing in a Fantastic Four movie. That's where it should be at for me. Well, guys, let me go back to something there, right? So that gives me a good topic just kind of bring up, because I said this, I actually typed this on a Facebook post while I was in the toilet, in the bathroom. Not in the toilet, but in the bathroom. I didn't have a foot in there. I didn't lift the lid and fall in or nothing. But immediately, got swarmed and stuff, right? Thunderbolts, which is coming off with I went this past Wednesday with Josh. If you look at my Friday night video haul, we were out and about, and I went and watched the 40th anniversary edition of Vampire Hunter D. It was in Japanese with subtitles on a big screen. And the trailer was proper Thunderbolts. It was the trailer. And I'm like, my God, they're even trying to do pop music like James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy and things. But it ended up being, I'm like, this is the Suicide Squad. They even have an idiot character, the Soviet soldier. Is that who it is? The Soviet Reds? I'm getting my universes picked up here. Anyway, the dude, the cop from Hopper or whatever from Stranger Things, his character is the idiot, much like King Shark is. And I could see it. I'm like, my God, they did the Suicide Squad without doing the Suicide Squad. And who are they fighting? They showed the silhouette going up there, and it was Superman. The Sentry. The Sentry. They have the Gladiator, the Imperial Guard. They have Hyperion. And now they have Sentry as they were going on, and Sentry is a Superman based character, no matter how you want to slice that. So basically, we have the Suicide Squad against the Superman, is what that movie looks like. Dead silence in the theater. Okay, dead silence in the theater. And I have completely forgot about the Thunderbolts till this moment. This is what I'm saying. It's not even a fatigue, it's a loss of trust. You know what I mean? So let's hope that Superman does not get Fantastic Four is a mixed bag. I'll talk about who I think is going to go see it. Here we go. The Thunderbolts movie sponsored the Chinese team at the Formula E Miami Grand Prix for electric racing cars. That's very interesting. Because the Chinese have, I don't know, this is sports, I get it, you know what I mean? But the Chinese have not really been. Red Guardian, thank you, sir. The Soviet soldiers is the team he was a part of. Okay, I got the one shot. Thank you. All right. Thunderbolts team without Hawkeye is a travesty. Those guys, for the muggles who may be running across this and setting across this and everything like that, or for people who never read the Thunderbolts, those are Thunderbolts in name only. And even in the trailer, they didn't want the name. Okay. It's the Red Guardian wanting to call themselves Thunderbolts, and they're making jokes of like, we're not going to call ourselves that, right? Excuse me. But they're Thunderbolts, and only there's not one real Thunderbolt from the comics on the team. Okay, that's why I'm out. I'm like, oh my God. These are all the actors that they had left over from the TV shows, throwing them a bone. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with it, right? Winter Soldier's there. I think people will show up for Winter Soldier. I really do. Okay, so who is going to go see these movies? The Superman movie, the Fantastic Four movie. Nobody's really, correct me if I'm wrong. If you want to go see the Thunderbolts, that's cool, but there's no buzz with Thunderbolts around or anything like that, right? To me, it's a James Gunn parody of a satire parody or whatever. They're a little tongue-in-cheek DC movie is what they're doing, okay? And at Gunn, I think. Here we go. No Zemo on Thunderbolts. It would be wild if somehow he did show up. Who knows? Who knows? I'm not going to go down that path. Anyway, who's going to go see these movies right now? This is just off this, by all means, grain of salt here. This is just speculating stuff, right? But like I was mentioning before, I know I'm sort of running in a circle here before I get to the jump in the hole go down the rabbit hole with this, right? But basically, you got people who are still Marvel movie fans, right? Not comic book fans, not movie fans per se, whatever that is and stuff. You got people who grew up with this, right? Like I said before, what did I say? 2007 or 8 was when Iron Man came out. We're closer to 20 years. We're real close. It's 17, 18 years since Iron Man came out. There are kids who have grown up with this, and they are going to go keep seeing them, right? Those are the ones where I'm like, good for you. Okay. They're an audience. They've grown up with it. That would have been so cool to have been a kid and probably seriously be able to grow up with something like that. You know what I mean? This shared movie universe that actually paid off with Endgame, right? All right, and then maybe some people who are Fantastic Four fans, because the Fantastic Four came out in 1961, right? Now, they didn't show up for that movie 10 years ago that was absolutely horrible, whenever that came up, right? They didn't show up for it, but that was obviously not the Fantastic Four. The trailer has hit all the high marks for people who probably grew up with Fantastic Four. They're fans and stuff, right? And when I say fans, like I said, I actually knew a guy named Kev. He was a music teacher up in Canada. Met him in the early 2000s, and his first Fantastic Four comic book was annual number 3, and he had collected for 40, closer to probably over 40 years as I've known him, 40 years at least, we'll say minimum. He collected the Fantastic Four for 40 years. So those fans are out there, silent fans who just, like Fantastic Four. So you're going to have those people go to see it. And then you're going to have, the Thing has his own fans, right? So you do have hardcore Fantastic Four fans who are going to show up. Will it be enough? Well, who knows, right? And then, of course, you got the people who just kind of go to the movies and they're not really into all the drama stuff that's going on behind it, or maybe they do, and stuff like that. But I just don't know if the numbers are going to be there. They don't have a strong villain. They don't have a strong story point yet. I can see if it plays into building up to Doomsday and all these things that are going on, maybe they've generated enough interest. I don't know, but they really went off the tracks. There's, you had that momentum, despite each movie being separate in a thing of its own, going towards Endgame, Infinity War and Endgame. Thanos is coming. They were able to, build up to that. You got excited about having another chapter of the story with an end credit or something, or this tied in over here. None of that's going on here. A lot of that's been abandoned. A lot of that stuff was going towards Kang. So we'll see where this goes, right? Then you have people who want to see Galactus. You know what I mean? But they want to see Galactus done right, and they've already given us in that teaser trailer, or whatever you want to call it, a trailer. They've already given us the shadow, again, a shadow of Galactus, to let us show that they've gotten it right, casting over Manhattan and New York, right? So yeah, it'll be real interesting to see who goes to that, because like I said, they had Marvels that bombed big time, and a few other, this Winter Soldier, Falcon, at least made its movie back. It took weeks and weeks and weeks, which is fine, but it's Marvel, guys. It's Marvel movies. Those things were making $1 billion a hit. You know what I mean? So, all right, Victor Shade. You're right, though. It looks like an imitation Suicide Squad. That's exactly what I thought from day one. Pal Costo, that's what the travesty is. It should be Zemo and the Masters of Evil. I didn't want to do a history lesson, but let me read what he says here. It should be Zemo and the Masters of Evil, but the MCU doesn't have enough villains because it's not a monthly comic. Well, they also, that's a whole thing. But in the comics, due to Heroes Reborn, with Fantastic Four and the Avengers and Iron Man and Hulk and everybody disappearing, these new heroes popped up and everybody was loving them, right? And then it turns out at the end of issue 1, Mach 3 is the Beetle, and Zemo is Citizen V. Songbird is Screaming Mimi from the Masters of Evil. It's the Masters of Evil disguised as heroes, and they're in the Baxter Building. You know what I mean? That's their headquarters. And that was the big reveal. I think it was like the comic book moment as voted by Wizard readers for 1997 or something, right? And it was a big deal. And eventually Hawkeye came to lead the team, and people were starting to be heroes and the way they were feeling things. And then they did this weird thing where the Beetle, Mach 3, went to jail and he got turned into a black man. Yeah. Anyway. Oh my goodness. Hard pass on Thunderbolts. Might see if Soups is in see Soups in Fantastic Four. Yeah. Is Moondragon in it? I have no idea. I don't know, but that would be great. Victor Shea, just from the trailers and interviews, I'm hopeful for Superman. Tom King's involvement makes me nervous. I want Fantastic Four to be good, but it looks like Marvel wants to fix characters that don't need fixed. That's the whole point. Yeah. One of the reasons that I said that the Phase 4 failed is you had an Eternals movie and you took out the Jack Kirby. I've said this before where the MCU went wrong. That's the live show I did where I talked about they took out the Kirby, even if you didn't realize it and you were like, some of these, started to like the movies less or feel weird about it. They took out the Kirby. Okay. Tom King's involvement, I'm never reading anything Tom King again. I don't even know if I want to check out that Lantern show till I get feedback, okay, that he's involved in. Woman of Tomorrow, I felt like the Supergirl they cast, that might be their first miscasting, but we'll see what happened. I don't want to do that Michael Keaton as Batman effect again. But I saw the 2 or 3 people, 2 girls. Well, I definitely saw 2 girls that he had to pick from. And I was really surprised he even mentioned 2 girls instead of just announcing who the first one was. And I really feel like he went the wrong way, but we'll see where the movie's going. And yes, people defended this actress that's playing Supergirl, and I was just like, really? This is the hill you want to die on? It was just weird, you know. For me, if we're going to have Supergirl, I got to see, we got to have some fighting going on. You know what I mean? Like, let's really do it. And Tom King's just going to depress you, so we'll see what happens. Oh my goodness. So yeah, that's where we're at, guys. These movies are coming up. It should be for you guys that just popped in, this should be a very exciting time to be a Superman fan, a comic book fan, right? We have Superman and the Fantastic Four, the one that really started the superhero thing. And the team that started the Marvel Universe. This should be great. You know what I mean? This should be fantastic. We should not be sitting here wondering, you know what I mean? Or having disinterest or just to be done. There's just too many strikes against the Fantastic Four so far. So if it turns out the Fantastic Four ends up being a really good movie, the PR team should be smacked around. The people doing the public relations for this, right? And that's about it. That's where we're at with things, right, guys? So that's it. Thanks for popping in. Just want to get these thoughts off my head. If you're in the future there, leave some comments about what you think. Please subscribe, thumb it up, hit the bell, share the video, let people know we're here, make a response video, whatever you want to do. Because like I said, this should be an exciting time. It should be an exciting time, and I shouldn't be sitting here giggling like a fool because that Snow White train wreck should have been a wake up call for audiences and studios. And sometimes they have things already in progress that they can't get out of, and it's too late to fix them. So yeah, let's cross our fingers. Let's cross our fingers and hope for the best. Sorry. Moonstone. No, she's not in it. Yeah. Okay. And she was a major thing. I know exactly. Yeah, Moonstone. All right, guys. Read your comics. Be excellent to each other. And till next time.